Welcome everyone to the CXPS CX-cellence Award winner roundtables. This week we have from Neumann Monson Architects, Denise Schmitz, sharing her story. Neumann's won the CX-cellence Award every year that it's been in existence. So one of our regulars who's doing innovation around client experience every year. So really glad to have them back. And Denise, I will turn it over to you. Also, let me just do a plug. If you haven't yet signed up for CXPS, please go to clientexperience.org. We'll be Durham, North Carolina, May 8th through 11th in 2023. So those watching the recording, please join us there. Now, Denise, I will turn it over to you.
Awesome. Oops, hang on one moment. Okay, so glad to be here. Let me share my screen and we'll get going. Oops. How many times do we do this a day and it still feels like it's brand new?
I'm still trying to make it through a day without having to say or hear you're on mute. And I think it's been 2.5 years and I haven't made a day yet.
Okay, so I am sharing, you can see my screen. So
yes.
Our award application this year was on the topic of content marketing or inbound marketing. And before we get into that too much, I just want to tell you a little bit about who we are. Neumann Monson Architects, we're an architectural firm. Most of our work takes place in Iowa. This is our team of seller doers. So this will become evident how important this is as we go through the presentation. So no dedicated sales team. And for some additional context, we started our CX journey really intentionally in 2014 when we started partnering with Ryan and his group. And then shortly after that, we contracted with CX pilots to get specific training, which was, very much needed, I would say, for us anyway. At that time and place, we were, we had great authority in our industry. Nothing, horrible had happened to cause us to pursue this, fortunately. So we were just, we are a firm that's committed to constant improvement. So this is just one piece of evidence for that. So we were doing that right, but we were doing a lot of things wrong. We had essentially not really much of a BD process. We were blessed that we had lots of repeat and referral customers, but that's not necessarily always the best alignment, is what we're having the luxury of kind of understanding now. We had no CRM. We had people who didn't even know what a CRM was in our firm. Our approach was pretty much reactive versus proactive. And we were doing nothing essentially to kind of raise awareness and draw people into us. So in the context of that, in our world of architecture, it's common for firms to spin off and create smaller firms. So competition was increasing from that context. Those smaller firms have lower overhead and are kind of driving the prices down, which in turn commoditizes the industry. And then probably above all, the field of architecture has long time had this sort of false dilemma or false choice that you are either a firm that has CX or you're a firm that has DX. And we thought, we've always thought, well, why not have both? So all the stuff that we're doing is a way to really answer to that and confirm that commitment. So in 2021, by pure chance, one of our principals got COVID and was recommended this book, and he read it while he was in bed and said, "This is fantastic. This is what we've been looking for." When we were working with CX pilots, they worked hard to try to teach us how to develop insights and do that kind of content marketing. It was not second nature to us at all. And this book really kind of helped it sink in for us. I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. And then later that year, we partnered with this group called Impact, which does coaching for kind of learning and fully implementing these principles. We're a firm that uses consultants all the time. Our clients rely on us for our expertise. So it was natural for us to partner with others. really our big problem, which is lots of people's problems when it comes to creating content, is it's hard to get out of your own head. Or put another way, it's hard to read the label from inside the jar. We have to get outside of the jar. And that's where our challenge was. So, it's hard to create that content that will meet the entire sales funnel, the entire client journey, unless we're able to do that. And that was really our mission. A little bit more about why we're pursuing this. So one thing that we learned from the book is that, well, I think we knew intuitively, but that we learned from the book also, is that this would allow us to become the most trusted voice in our profession, to talk about and address head on through written content, things that nobody else has the courage to talk about, essentially. So being that trusted voice, we're educating our clients by doing that. We're creating greater alliance earlier on with those clients, winning more projects with less effort. But ultimately, as a mission-driven firm, we're able to then, with all that really great alignment, do more of the kind of work that we wanted to do, with the clients who we want to do it with, to kind of have the greatest impact. So the book is no Pulitzer winner, I will tell you that. In fact, it's written from the perspective of someone who has sold, whose business is pool service business. So selling pools, installing pools, that kind of stuff, pretty niche. Didn't necessarily apply to us. Our clients are spending millions and millions of dollars. But there was a way, we saw the value in what this book's message was. And the premise is if your marketplace is asking, we need to answer their questions. And so you create the content, again, to be courageous and answer those questions that nobody is willing to talk about. The writing that we do is always unbiased. And for those of you who follow StoryBrand, we're, no we, and we'll get into this finer point a little bit later in the presentation about assignment selling, which is a way to use that content to really set the conditions for really every conversation that you want to have with prospects or existing clients or even employees. We started a book club internally. 65% of our staff, which isn't a huge staff as you saw earlier, but 65% of our very skeptical architects joined in, and we had 100% of leadership participation and buy-in. The book really kind of talks about how you address content in a number of different ways, but it also distinguishes between what they call the big five. And they're the big five because these are the items that people avoid the most in terms of creating content. So price and cost. We talk about price and cost to our clients, our potential clients, all the time, but kind of, getting over the hump of creating content that proactively addresses that, it is a huge differentiator. Talk about the problems that we have, just get them out there, because everybody knows that problems happen. Whatever industry you're in, it happens. Just talk about it, address it, talk about how you, solve those problems, and, people will appreciate that. Comparisons and so forth. So, you can do this with your services, with the products that you use in your services. There's lots of different ways to kind of look at this. And then the last two categories, they actually sort of clump into one. So is it the big five or the big four? Who knows? But that's like reviews and best in class. So these are other kind of topics that people will talk that we can create content around as well. Myths and misconceptions, pros and cons. We do a lot with, we'll get into some examples here in a little bit. So one of the things that was recommended that's going to help us get outside of our heads, get us outside of the jar to be able to read that label better, and to be able to commit to the amount of content that we need to be creating to kind of make Google happy with us, is to hire a full-time content journalist. So we did that. His name is Tyler. He had a journalism background when he came to us, so he's got that curious mindset. He's great at interviewing people, pulling out the facts, but then reiterating everything in a way that doesn't include a lot of architectural speak. Architecture is, as Ryan is familiar, I'm sure, very coded language, lots of archy speak, we call it. So that can be a big barrier for our potential customers to kind of break into that. So we brainstormed a lot of stuff. We use Mural quite often for most of our brainstorming sessions. And the goal is for us to continually produce 2 to 3, and I should say publish 2 to 3 pieces of content per week. So that is it's a significant commitment, a big undertaking. What that looks like in terms of our process is we brainstorm, as I mentioned before, then it's up to our content writer to interview folks, establish who the SME is, do drafts, modify, etc., publish. And to date, we have published over 100 pieces that are on our Learning Center. Google really likes that. In addition, they ask you suggest that you hire a full-time videographer. So we did. This was, we knew that we needed help with the written part of things, but we thought really we're going to keep a videographer busy, every day, every week of the year forever. And the answer is yes. He's a full-time employee. He happens to be a fresh grad that came from us. We searched and searched and searched to fill this position. It took a long time, but there's you've got to have the right mix of, I guess I would say, empathy to make people feel comfortable behind the camera, as well as, the technical skills and so forth to edit and get the things published and out the door. Our goal with this is to produce 2 pieces of content, 2 pieces of video content per week. And again, that kind of video has to hit every part of the sales funnel. And we kind of approach this in a couple of different ways. So we have our videographer that we use to produce really high quality content, but we also use something called, I don't know if this is an industry term or not, but a lower quality production 1-to-1 video. So I want to talk to you about that real quick and help you understand how all this kind of fits into the content generation and pull marketing standpoint. So these are examples of things that our videographer produces. Some of these are, the one on the left you'll see is about a visioning workshop. So that is something that we frequently do with clients where it's kind of unique to our approach. And so being able to explain that not just in words on our website, but also through these videos makes it more real for them. And then, on the right, you'll see more of a basic piece that's really questions to ask an architect before you hire them. So helpful things that make that opaque profession of ours a little bit more approachable. But we also do, this is like really desktop video. And this is very helpful for a number of purposes. So when we're doing when we're putting the kind of highly produced stuff on our website, that's oftentimes when we're like up in the sales funnel, right? So this can be when we are actually in conversation with an actual client or a potential client. And earlier I had said something about setting the stages for the conversations that we want to have. So what we can do is kind of send either written information or whatever to our clients' resources. Again, it's a complicated profession that we're in, to kind of coach them and give them what they need so that as we enter a meeting or whatever, they're most prepared. And then you can see even on the right, we use this sometimes. There's an example of first invoice. So the first time one of our clients is invoiced, we'll throw a little video together. It's just tell them how it works, explain how our invoices are organized and so forth. It's just helpful. So yes, push and pull marketing. So this is where we get into assignment selling. It's very, very important for us. We're not selling widgets. We're not trying to sell, we're not trying to, for our content to go viral like a Kardashian. We're just trying to create a more educated buyer. And, if we can find 10, 20, 30 clients this way every year where we have really great alignment, that is a very positive thing for us. What we don't want to do is be chasing our tails, trying to, wasting our time on prospects that where we really don't have good alignment. So we use assignment selling a lot to, again, create that informed buyer, empower them to take more risks. We firmly believe that a client that is more informed is more likely to take more risks and, rather than err on the side of being conservative. And again, it's just so much of this is back to that alignment and making sure that we have a good match and reduce their anxiety through this process. And as I said earlier, setting the conditions for every engagement. I feel like this is kind of a universal truth that most selling teams find that they answer the same questions over and over and over again. So if we can create video or written content or whatever that we can push out to customers or potential customers in a real surgical sort of way, where we're just being very precise with what we give them, that kind of gets rid of all those questions and, creates alignment and so forth. So here's an example. I showed earlier that video, an example of a video about workshopping. So we might, if we're about to enter that phase of in a project with a client, we might send that to them so that they can disperse it to others. Or even as people are looking at our proposal, at the proposal stage, for example, they might say, help me understand what this workshop is. Your fee is higher. How do you justify that? This is a way that we can, an example of how we use that. And we even use assignment selling internally. So this, who you're seeing in the bottom left, is our written content developer. And he, every week, will create a little video that says, okay, here's the new content that's on the website now. This is how you can use it. This actually pairs well with this other piece that we wrote 2 weeks ago, or whatever, to kind of prime our people to know what the content is and above all, use it. It's no good if it's not getting used. And one of the things that I like to say over and over again is that you cannot assignment sell if you don't have the content, or to be more precise, unless the content is published and exists. So it's a bit of a chicken egg thing, like the more time, the more our seller doers are out on the streets, they're discovering what the content is that needs to be created. So we create that, but at the same time, we're trying to proactively arm them with what they need. Again, and part of this whole journey was us redesigning our website. This is our website before, which is almost like a magazine. Many architects' websites look like this. They're very precious, and it's just sort of a gallery of images. And the thought is that pictures are better than words, and you should just get it. So a big chance for us to differentiate. This is now our new website, which was designed with StoryBrand in mind. It's hosted by HubSpot, which is also our CRM. So our ability to have really great listening analytics is dramatically improved, because we really had not much before that. We have calls to action where people can reach out and contact us. And then you can see right here in the top, there is a header right there for a topic that specifically talks about pricing. So we're hitting it head on. And then, of course, our learning center as well. So then to come full circle, we go through all this time and effort of creating content, but then the next part is to, after publishing, to measure it, see how it's doing, and pivot as necessary. So I wanted to give you guys some stats real quick. These were updated just last week. Our sessions are up over 20%. Our users are up over 20%. Our bounce rate is down, which is fantastic. And the duration of time that they're spending on our site is up as well. And then for a couple of pieces of content specifically, this was a I call this the non-sexy. We're like, okay, if people are saying we have to write content about this, we'll do it. Seems pretty unsexy to me. This thing has been consistently, since we published this many months ago, has been, I don't know who was reading this or keeps reading this, but it's a lot of people. They spend 6 minutes on this page. Most of this is from organic traffic. So when you talk about they ask, you answer, people want to know about this. And so this was kind of a surprise. Wasn't one of our sexier pieces of content, but it continues to rank highly. Then this one, we thought, everybody's going to want to know about this. Like, there's so many hidden costs when you're, designing and building a building. So like, how can you make wise choices so that, you're not getting plagued with these unseen costs upon owning and operating the building. We thought people are going to go crazy for this. They didn't. And what we decided is because that's something that's not really on a client's radar until they are in community or in contract with an architect. So we use this piece a lot for assignment selling to get people kind of up to speed. In terms of social media, we do promote some of these content pieces through social media. We've seen great returns on that as well. And so I guess I just wanted to wrap it up by saying, why did we do this? We did this because we wanted to become the most trusted voice in our profession and do it from an educational standpoint. And, so far it's been great. So that's our story.
As always, Neumann Monson does a million things and do it so well. Very inspiring, Denise. I'm sure in the time we have left, there's got to be some questions from the audience. So at this time, we'll open it up for Q&A.
Denise, this is Heather. Thank you so much for this information. It was great to hear about all the efforts that you guys are making. I'm super curious. So I saw sort of your timeline, you all signed on with Client Savvy in 2014 and you signed on with another tool in 2018. And I'm not sure, I can't remember the timing of when your firm sort of adopted this assignment selling model and decided to really pursue it. Can you talk a little bit, and forgive me if I missed it, but can you talk a little bit about the steps that sort of like led up to that? Like there's obviously the, like how does one get everybody bought into this? And what are sort of like the internal selling points for something like this? Because obviously it's incredibly effective.
Yeah, so we did that book club early on. That's just kind of our culture. If we, we're continually changing and always trying to improve. So it's not uncommon for us to do something like that. We had no idea how important that book club was going to be. And just to keep this conversation alive. So, there was a lot that was happening with us just even being trained before we actually kicked this off, but keeping that conversation alive, making sure that people didn't know that it was going to go away, making sure people understood that they were going to have to be part of this. This is something that we're making and we'll be formalizing our BD process as well. I mean, all of that was huge. So setting that groundwork so people understood what their role was going to be in it. It was in 2021 where we really, so just not even really a year, where we really started showing that stuff. Sorry, I don't have my camera on, do I? Sorry. Hello.
Thank you so much.
Yes. So anyway, it was in 2021 where we got kind of, I'd say, specific training on that through that impact group. And we're still there. We've had some early adopters who are really in it. And then we have some that are coming along. But we just try to show those success stories, and it seems to be working. Does that answer your question?
It absolutely does. Thank you so much. I love the fact that everybody was willing to get on board just to read the same book and get behind the same principle. Yes, duh, great idea.
Well, I mean, it's you never know, right? And like I said, we've got my group, these like supremely intelligent, kind of highly skeptical people. So it was really important. And we know from working with this group Impact, we now are kind of in some cohorts, like our videographers in a group with other videographers, and our writer is as well with other writers. And we just hear stories almost on a weekly basis about, you know, like my employer hasn't even bought me a computer yet, or I can't get anybody to be an SME for me because they don't have that buy-in. So yeah, you can't underscore that enough.
What other questions do we have?
Denise, can you go back? I'm sorry, I missed the number of pieces of content you were producing prior to the video piece.
You mean for
You
written
meant-
content?
Yes, for the written content.
We do 3 a week.
Is that right?
Actually 2 to 3 a week.
Okay.
We're just at a point right now. So we started this and we were sort of answering the softball questions, I guess I would say, you know, creating that entree for people. Now we're at a point where we just started doing we're calling it level 2 content. So we're trying to create content that's more aligned with our BD goals specifically. So if we're trying to reach out to, you know, higher ed clients, we're trying to, you know, we're researching and understanding what's important to them and creating content around that. But so now we're down to like 2 a week, just because those are more complex. But Google still likes us. You know, it's all about just kind of keeping pushing everything up. So
Great. That's really great. Good stuff.
great, thanks.
I know Neumann Monson is one of the smaller organizations in the CXPS community, about 50 people, 45, 50 people. What would you say to the firm that says, you know, usually a much larger firm that says we can't justify 2 full-time people who aren't billable?
Our marketing department doubled last year. You know, so we had 2 people and now we have 4. So, you know, if we can swing it, I can't imagine a larger firm cannot swing it. We did some firm visits just this fall up to Minneapolis and visited some firms, and there were some, you know, large international players there that were very interested in what we had to say too.
So you've been able to, in the year you've been doing this, you've seen a positive return on that investment already.
Absolutely. I mean, there's still some kinks. For example, like we have always had a problem. It's part of our industry, right? People don't really know what architects do. So it seems like invariably, you know, every week there's a number of phone calls of people coming in who want us to renovate a mother-in-law's basement in their home, you know, or just stamp some drawings so they can put a garage on their house or whatever. So part of what this is doing, in addition to bringing in qualified leads, I think I mentioned this earlier, is dissuading those people, just letting them know that the alignment isn't there. So
I think I saw a page or a blog post on your website around best residential architect in Iowa, and you were saying we're kind of not it.
Yep. Yeah, don't be afraid to say it. And then so then when people call and they want that, we say, you know what, here's a link, go visit this site. And then, you know, we tell them who are the good people that they should contact. So
yeah. It's just really interesting, optimizing content to be found to then send work away.
Actually, I think that's absolutely brilliant. I mean,
Right?
I can tell you the number of times I've heard clients say, you know, you guys are really expensive. And, you know, every time I want to say expensive, but worth it. And by the way, here are some people who aren't as expensive. And if you'd like to go that route, go for it. You know, I love it.
and then creating all kinds of content around that. Like, why does one architect cost more than another? You know, I mean, we've written that piece.
Yeah.
So
That's fantastic.
yeah.
All right. Any other final questions before we wrap? I know we're at the end of our 30 minutes here. All right.
Well, thanks for your questions. Good to see you all.
Thank you
And
so
Denise,
much.
Thank you very much. That was, as always, incredible. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
And likewise,
You
bye, guys.
too.